Well, why don't we go ahead and get started, and then people can kind of jump in when they get in. Is that okay with everyone?
Yes.
All right. Well, again, thank you guys so much for coming. My name is Lindsay Tate, and I work for Miami Valley Career Technology Center. Annette, thank you. Yes, absolutely. We're going to introduce ourselves and provide our information at the end. So I work for Aspire, which is part of adult education. And we have been doing this series for a couple of years now. So we're going to get started with the presentation, and then all of us on the committee will have the chance to introduce ourselves because we can be hopefully really great contacts for you to recruit immigrants and refugees for your workforce. We're going to share my screen. Sometimes I have issues with sharing, so if you do have a problem, please let me know. All right. Again, I work through Miami Valley Career Technology Center through the Aspire program, and I am the career coach. And so what I do is help all of our students transition to whatever's next for them. So we work with students who are either learning English through our ESOL program, or earning their high school equivalency, or preparing for college entrance exam. So maybe they graduated with their high school diploma, but they want to go to Sinclair and they don't quite have the math skills. They're able to take our classes for free to try to pass the math test. We are free for all eligible individuals. And we also provide some training programs to get students some industry certification so that they are workforce ready. We are going to send out our information at the end. So you are always welcome to email me directly if you have positions you want filled, or if you want to build a partnership, so that way we can help build a pipeline of workers. And I'll let Bethany introduce herself next.
Great. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. My name is Bethany. I work with Catholic Social Services of the Miami Valley in the Refugee Resettlement Program. We work primarily with two groups of refugees. Those would be the primary refugees who are first coming to the United States for the first time, and then also secondary refugees, which would be people who have been in the country for a bit longer. Typically, they've moved, so they might be new to the Miami Valley. We are an employment-based program, so one of the key services we provide is connecting our refugee clients with employers and trying to build successful relationships between the two.
Hi everyone, my name is Jessica Wagner. I'm with the Dayton Area Chamber of Commerce. We're really happy to have this partnership with all of the great names you see up on our screen, as well as the organizations that our speakers represent today. So as manager of workforce and economic development, I'm very busy, as you can imagine, on the workforce side. And so what we bring to the table in this setting is making sure that our employers, we know how much of a struggle it is to hire right now, and even pre-COVID, but certainly the case now as well. So we want to find and uplift as many opportunities as there are possible to sort of funnel that pipeline of workers to you in a variety of ways, not just immigrants and refugees, but through our K through 12 schools. The list goes on and on. So thank you for being here.
And hi, I'm the newest. My name's Brittany Chill. I work for Shorelight Education, which is an international education company, and we are in partnership with the University of Dayton. So I work predominantly with folks who would be eligible either for on-campus employment. Lynn, we've worked together. I knew you looked familiar. As well as students who are here under F1 visas who are eligible to do CPT, as well as those interested in eventually finding employment with an employer willing to sponsor under H-1B. So I'm kind of the higher education side of in terms of population.
Yes, so to represent every type of immigrant and refugee that is out there, from those who have formal education to less formal education, experience, no experience. Our committee is really focused on trying to have opportunities for everybody. So all of you are here to learn more about upskilling, which is for your current workforce. And Jessica is going to talk to us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I'm not going to bore you, especially those of you who are employers. I think you have a good understanding of upskilling and how that may be a better option for both your foreign-born and native-born workforce to upskill them, right, for the jobs and tasks of tomorrow, rather than trying to create a new position or rehire. We know what a drag hiring and onboarding, what an expense that is. So this is really a great way to just sort of enlighten you about some programs through the state. And also we have some folks here from Montgomery County who can talk about what funding is available to help ease that upskilling cost. The governor's office, this is really important to him, as well as the lieutenant governor. So we're really excited that we can uplift this. So you see the guest speakers on the screen. We're going to go through this pretty quickly. Normally we would like to have everyone that has joined us introduce ourselves, but in the interest of time for both our speakers and for you, we want to make sure we get the information out. As Lindsay said, I'm going to send all of this out. We're recording today's meeting. So if you missed anything, don't panic. I will get it out to you, as well as contact information for all of these programs. So hopefully soon we can gather in person and you can enjoy that networking opportunity. There will be time for questions for the panel, but that will be at the end after all the speakers. Just again, we don't want to cut into anyone else's time. So everybody gets the small 10 minutes I've allotted them or so. So with that, I am going to just go ahead and get started with our first speaker is Katie Hegarty. Hopefully I pronounced that right. She is Executive Assistant to the Chief of Staff, Central and Southwest Ohio Regional Liaison from Lieutenant Governor John Husted's office. And she probably wins the award for longest title today. But Katie, we're really glad to have you to talk about TechCred and the Microcredential assistance program. We know this has been a strong focus of Lieutenant Governor's office, and we're glad to see it's continuing even post-COVID. So Katie, welcome.
Well, thank you. And thank you, Jessica, and everyone for having me today. Yes, I have a few titles, but happy to talk about TechCred and the IMAP program, as Jessica had mentioned. So I will share my screen here and pull up my PowerPoint. All right, can you all see that? Let's see.
Yep, just have to put it in presentation.
Perfect,
yep,
there we go.
Good.
All right, so TechCred. What is TechCred? TechCred is administered through Development Services Agency. It is a program, a state program that helps Ohioans obtain new skills and helps a strong workforce for Ohio employers by reimbursing employers up to $2,000 for each technology-focused credential earned by a current or prospective employee. This means employers can both upskill those employees who are currently at their company and those who they plan to hire, as long as the individual is an employee by the time they request reimbursement. The most recent application period for TechCred closed at the end of January, and we are now wrapping up another application period at the end of April. I'll go into that a little later, but we do plan on having future rounds of TechCred, so I just want to make a note to that. After 7 application periods, following the first 7 rounds, a total of 1,168 Ohio employers have been approved for reimbursement, resulting in the opportunity for Ohio employees to earn 19,841 technology-focused credentials. So far, 401 employers have received awards in multiple rounds. The most recent round closed at the end of January. During that round, 384 businesses were approved for reimbursement, resulting in 4,736 tech-focused credentials to be earned by Ohio employees. As I mentioned, our application period is from April 1st to April 30th, which is going on right now. That closes at 3 p.m. However, we are looking for hopefully from future TechCred rounds. So how to get started? TechCred's pretty straightforward. We heard it's, we've heard a lot of input from businesses and the community that this is one of the easier grants to apply for, which we love to hear. First, a business will need to identify the credentials they want their employees to earn and identify the number of employees they would like to upskill. They will then need to choose a training provider that best fits their needs. That could be a career tech school, a university, anyone that provides that type of credential. Next, they would apply for the TechCred at the TechCred website that you can see at the top there, techcred.ohio.gov. They will enroll their employees in the chosen training program to earn a short-term, technology-focused, industry-recognized credential. After the training program is completed, the employer will upload proof of credential completion and receive reimbursement. I'll go into the reimbursement process a little later in my presentation. So to start, you will need an application. You will need to log in and start an application. When a business applies for TechCred, they are required to create required to create or log into their OHID account. OHID provides users with a secure and private experience during online interactions with the state of Ohio programs. With an OHID account, users can access multiple state applications by only entering their username and password once. To create an OHID account, you will need the following: your name, phone number, date of birth, last 4 digits of your social security number, username, and password. Some of the application requirements, some of the numbers that are needed, the identification numbers that are needed to apply for TechCred. We heard a lot of feedback from businesses and training providers from previous rounds. So we wanted to make sure that we touched base on these numbers that are required when applying. When applying for TechCred, there are 2 numbers required for the application: the supplier ID number and the Ohio charter number. Both of these numbers are to be provided by the business applying, not the training provider. There's been some confusion in that in the past. The supplier ID number, to register as a new supplier or update an existing account with the state, we encourage you to visit supplier.ohio.gov and follow the prompts until completed. Once this information has been approved, you will receive a 10-digit state of Ohio supplier ID number. And then the Ohio charter number is, businesses can search and find their Ohio charter number at businesssearch.ohiosos.gov. Think of these numbers, as identification numbers for businesses. This is how the state will pay and reimburse these businesses, so they are required for the application. In this current TechCred application, there are a few updates. I'll go through those briefly. The Governor's Office of Workforce Transformation has implemented a series of updates to this current round of TechCred funding. The length now of the grant will be reduced from 18 months to 12 months from the award date. And to be eligible for reimbursement, training must start on or after the date of the award, not before, and must be completed within 12 months. The reasoning behind this is to speed up the reimbursement process. We're just trying to get the money back to the businesses quicker. And then finally, training providers are no longer eligible to receive reimbursement for employees trained in-house. If a training provider wishes to utilize TechCred to upskill their own employees, they must use an outside training provider. And so I do want to say that businesses of all sizes are encouraged to apply for TechCred. You can see there the different sizes, categories of businesses. They have the same opportunity to receive funding. Each size category receives an equal amount of funding dollars. Small businesses are 1 to 50 employees, medium 51 to 200, and large are 200 plus. So what is a credential? A credential is an umbrella term that both includes certificates and certifications. Although they sound the same, they are different. A certificate is earned by individuals who successfully complete a training course or series of courses. A certification is earned by individuals who pass a standardized assessment that recognizes an individual's knowledge, skill, or competency in a particular specialty. There's a great video on the website, techcred.ohio.gov, that gives examples of the differences between a certificate and a certification. I recommend watching that video to gain a more in-depth understanding of what the differences are. So what makes a credential eligible? There are 3 criteria to make a credential eligible for TechCred. First is that it is industry recognized. This means the credential is valued by multiple employers and is not specific to one company. It is tech focused, technology focused. Technology impacts all industries, so TechCred can be used in all industries. And then short term, meaning credentials must be completed in less than 1 calendar year and must be fewer than 900 clock hours or 30 credit hours. And then adding credentials to the pre-approved list. Say you want to take a credential and you don't see it on the list on the website. So the pre-approved list of credentials on the website is just an example of the types of credentials that fit the criteria. We purposely launched a slim list to start so that the employer community could tell us which credentials they value for their workforce. We want the business community to drive which credentials are eligible. For this reason, the only way that credentials will be considered for addition is through filling out the application. If you're a training provider and you think that you have a credential that fits the 3 criteria and that credential is not on the list already, we encourage you to work with your employer partners to ensure they are submitting the credential when they apply for TechCred. TechCred is designed to be responsive to the dynamic workforce needs of employers. When filling out the TechCred application, employers will choose credential not listed and be prompted to provide the following. So you can see there on the slide, name of credential, identification of credential as a certificate or certification, the link to the syllabus or brochure, and then, as I mentioned, the 3 criteria: evidence of short-term, industry recognized, and technology focused. Award amounts. Employers can sponsor their employees to pursue credentials that cost more than $2,000. However, the state will only reimburse up to $2,000 per credential. Each employee can now earn multiple credentials each application period. There is no longer a limit of 1 credential per employee per application period. And then employers as a whole can apply for reimbursement of up to $30,000 each funding round. We get that question a lot. I've applied for TechCred in the past. Can I do it again? And the answer is yes. And then the reimbursement process. Submitting for reimbursement is easy. The reimbursement portal can be accessed through the website, which is techcred.ohio.gov. You will need to submit the following: proof of credential completion. This could be a copy of a certificate received, an official letter from the training provider, etc. The invoices for costs incurred, and the proof of payment. And now, because employers are no longer required to list employees earning credentials on the application, you must submit information about each credential earner when submitting for reimbursement. This includes name, last 4 digits of social security number, date of birth, county of residence, and employee's wage before and after earning a credential, even if that wage does not change. And I did want to make a note that to utilize this grant program, you must be an Ohio resident and you must also have a social security number. So the contact information for TechCred is right there at the top, techcred.ohio.gov. And I know that Jessica said she would share my contact information with the group as well. Happy to do that. And there's also the Office of Workforce Transformations email if you have any questions about TechCred. We are wrapping up our April application period, but looking forward to hopefully some more application periods in the future. And then quickly, I will talk about the IMAP program, or the Individual Microcredential Assistance Program. Similar to TechCred, through IMAP, Ohioans who are low income, partially unemployed, or totally unemployed can earn a tech credential at no cost. The credential must be short-term, industry recognized, and technology focused. Through IMAP, individuals can partner with one of 11 IMAP training providers to enroll in and complete a tech-focused training program. Individuals can contact these providers directly to sign up for their training programs at imap.development.ohio.gov. The Ohio Development Services Agency will not be involved in the selection of individuals approved for assistance through IMAP. Individuals who are interested will need to work with one of those 11 IMAP training providers. Those can be found on the website. There are 54 eligible credentials through IMAP, and 37 of those credentials can be completed online, meaning they can be earned anywhere in Ohio. And then to participate, you must be an Ohio resident who is low income, partially unemployed, or totally unemployed. Individuals also must have a social security number to participate. Individual training programs may have additional requirements. Again, to learn more, please contact the IMAP training provider you are interested in using. You can find that list on the website. And reminder, individuals completing training through IMAP will not have any cost. Training providers may be awarded of up to $250,000 per application and up to $3,000 per microcredential. Items that are eligible for reimbursement include tuition, lab fees, manuals, textbooks, and certification assessment costs. Ineligible costs are items such as food, drink, travel, and indirect costs. I will note that IMAP applicants cannot request reimbursement for an individual earning a microcredential if the individual's employer is also being reimbursed through the Ohio TechCred program for the same credential. And then I will make a final note to say that there is funding going on right now in the current budget for both IMAP and TechCred. It's going through the legislative process, so hopefully that funding will pass. And like I said, we're looking forward to future funding and future rounds of TechCred. And that's my presentation.
Thank you, Katie. Appreciate that. And as we transition to our next speaker, so John, if you want to share your screen to share your presentation, I'll just wrap up a little bit on what Katie said. Speaking more to the TechCred program, I know for some of you it may seem really overwhelming, some of the things that she mentioned, but I've gone through that TechCred sort of application portal just to check it out. And I've spoken with members, our chamber members, so in the Dayton region, who've successfully been awarded multiple rounds. And it is actually really easy, more so than you would think for a government website. And that's a lot of money that's been handed out. And again, I'll put everything in the email with links so you can go through. But on the TechCred, we have a lot of great of our local education providers that are on that list. So please do take advantage of it. Again, all these programs apply, even though this is part of our Immigrant and Refugee Roundtable series, but it applies to all of your employees. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over now to the Office of Opportunities for New Americans. And we have John Workman with us, who's the Chief Business Services Division of the Development Services Agency. So hi, John, welcome. Thanks for being here. Feel free to share your presentation whenever you're ready.
Hi, Jessica. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. So I have a video that I'll have you play here in just a minute or two. But other than that, I'll kind of just do some talking. I'll try and keep it brief. Katie did a really, really great job of going over the TechCred program and the IMAP programs, which are really two of our big focuses here in the Development Services Agency for upskilling workers. So on behalf of Development Services Agency Director Lydia Mihalik, I want to thank you for giving the opportunity to talk with you today about the Ohio Office of Opportunity for New Americans, and then some other resources that our agency has to be able to help upskill workers in addition to what Katie talked about previously. So as Jessica said, I'm John Workman. I'm the Chief of the Business Services Division at the Ohio Development Services Agency. So I oversee all of our business incentive programs, tax incentive grants and loans. I oversee the state's small business support networks or small business development centers, procurement technical assistance, export assistance, all that sort of stuff. And then the Ohio Office of Third Frontier as well. And then another piece of the Business Services Division that I oversee is the Office of Opportunities for New Americans. And it was really created to try and identify ways to help immigrants access the resources they need to be able to live and thrive in our communities here in Ohio. There's really three pillars that the office is focused on: jobs, education and training, and entrepreneurship. And we've tried to learn as much as we can in those categories about the struggles that immigrants face and how we can try and help those out as much as possible. And really the biggest thing is I think we've learned a lot. Part of our mission is to try and really just spread best practices. If we learn that, somebody in Cleveland is doing something really effective to help get these folks into jobs, and we want to make sure that that's being shared with our folks in Cincinnati and Toledo and all across the state as well. So if you could, Jessica, just as an example, here's one of our recently completed success stories that we shared with our partners, and it's right there in Dayton. So I think it's a great example.
Sorry, bear with me a second here as I try to make this screen bigger
That's
so you all
okay.
can see it. Lindsay or anyone, let me know. Is it a little bit better? I don't know why it doesn't want to get bigger for me.
It's not too bad. Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Then let me just make sure real quick that we have audio for you guys because we want the audio. All right. I think we are ready.
So I'm responsible for environmental services, housekeeping, and all the aspects of dietary. They are preparing food, they're delivering food. We look to hire the best possible person we can find. And we found in many cases that's someone who's new to America.
The experience is actually I like to make people happy. That doesn't matter what the way, cooking or doing something different, and especially children's. This is a children's hospital, a lot of kids, and if they are sick and we can do something for them or for their parents, this is good for me. I think it's good for everybody too. Yeah.
What we've learned is it's so hard to start a new job, period. It's especially hard when you come from a different culture and you speak a different language. So we've tried to put these people together for the first 60 days so they have someone to relate to and someone to sit and eat lunch with who eats the same foods and speaks the same language.
I learned many things like patience, allergies, talk with patients. Yeah, I learned a lot of things. It's a good place to work.
The new Americans bring to us a willingness to work, a willingness to adapt, and the ability to show up and work diligently every day.
Thank you very much, Jessica. That's really kind of been the central focus of our work in the Office of Opportunities for New Americans, which is really just building a clearinghouse for information that new Ohioans may need, and also sharing these success stories, showing that it can be done so that it can be replicated across the state. The office itself has been active since May of 2018. We've been improving it, adding content since then. newamericans.ohio.gov is the website. That's where we share all of our information. And the bulk of the website is also translatable into more than 100 languages. So we try and make it easy for some of our non-native English speakers to be able to navigate that website and utilize the resources. The work really is ongoing. We're continuing to reach out to people in groups across the state to learn more about best practices that can be shared and replicated. But we're also connecting businesses with community resources that can help with their hiring needs. We've been pretty successful with that. We have a very dedicated staff that works on that. So if you're interested, you can contact us through the website, again, newamericans.ohio.gov. I will just briefly mention a couple of other items that we have at the Development Services Agency that really focus on workforce in general. Like I said, Katie did a really great job of talking about TechCred and IMAP, and I would certainly encourage employers and individuals to take advantage of those programs while they're available. We really want you guys to have workforce tools locally, and that's the key for what we call the Industry Sector Partnership Program. You really know what the unique challenges and circumstances are in your region, and local is really where things get done. So the Industry Sector Partnership Program helps that happen. Really what it is, we have alliances of businesses, education, and civic leaders coming together to identify the needs of their region, the industry, and workers. They really chart the path forward. They decide what they're going to do and how they're going to accomplish their goals, and we provide funding to try and assist that. So there's a couple of different ways that we provide that funding. One is to create new partnerships, so we can provide seed funding for new partnerships, or we can accelerate existing partnerships as well. So we can provide grant funding for both of those opportunities. And as Katie mentioned, with TechCred and IMAP, looking at potentially getting some additional funding for that program as part of the current biennial budget that's being worked on by the legislature. And then finally, we've tried to focus as much as possible on internships over the last couple of years. Obviously, there's a big benefit there, both for the students and the employers, and really just about trying to keep the workforce here in the state of Ohio. So a couple of opportunities that we have a diversity and inclusion internship technology program. So really focuses on getting diverse individuals into technology roles in Ohio. So that's a really big program for us, something that we focus on a lot. We have an export assistance internship where you take some coursework at a university in Ohio, and then you're placed with a company over the summer to help them export goods. So international business majors, this is something that's really good for them. And then we've also started working on some of the younger kids as well. We have a manufacturing internship program, which is mostly focused in the Northeastern Ohio region right now, but really focuses on getting younger kids, early to mid to late high school, into manufacturing jobs, so they can see that it's not the same manufacturing that it was 20, 30 years ago. And then finally, we are working on, very similar to our technology internship program at the college level, we're working on one on the high school level as well, utilizing partners across the state through the Office of Workforce Transformation in the Department of Education. So just a couple of other examples of programs that we have that really focus on development of workforce. Again, knowing that that's the future, we need to look at automation, we need to look at all these IT jobs and make sure that we have the appropriate workforce here in the state of Ohio to be able to support those. So thank you again very much for the opportunity to speak with you today, and happy to hang out in case there's any questions.
Thanks, John. Before I turn it over to Bethany to introduce our next speaker, I want to say from the chamber, we use the diversity and inclusion internship program. We have an intern who she was born in France. So we've really enjoyed that program, and we know how crucial interns are for employers, but it can be scary. And so this is another great way that the state can kind of help you out through that process. And there are a variety of other internship programs. So if anybody wants more information about internships, contact me, and I'm happy to get you in touch with John in his office or one of the other kind of programs around our area and across the state. So thank you, John. And then Bethany, I'll stop talking so you can introduce our next speaker.
Sure, no problem. So next we're going to hear about Project Hire from Carla Creel. Carla has been with the Montgomery County Workforce Team for 18 years and currently serves as a workplace supervisor of the Career Services Team. She has worked with both youth and adults to make them work ready through subsidized employment, credential attainment, and training support with employers. She has supported our Montgomery County employers by helping develop the workforce pipeline, but also through the Project Hire program, which is an on-the-job wage reimbursement program that provides employer-developed training for your new employees. And then Carla also has a Bachelor's of Arts in Psychology, Sociology, and Women's Studies. So Carla, I will hand it over, and really looking forward to what you have to say.
Oh, thank you. So what she means by all that is I have the best job in the world, and we can argue about that if you guys want, but it's an amazing job, and it's an amazing program where we get to help employers who are in a situation where they're small employers, large employers, anywhere from 2 to 100 employees at the company. We can help reimburse and offset those new hire training costs, which can be really, really painful for some of our employers. So let me share my screen here. Sorry. I'm always going to be the one that has the technology issues, I promise. Can you guys see that okay?
No, I just made you, I sent the co-host invitation to you again, so you may have to reshare. Okay. Maybe now you have the power.
Okay.
We see it, just needs to be in like a full screen kind of mode, or at least in presentation mode.
All right.
Awesome.
I will always be that person. There you go. Okay, so basically Project Hire is a grant funded program that's designed to offset those new hire training costs for a employer in Montgomery County. The employee is determined by the employer. You guys make the selection, you hire them, you do the training, but we can offset those training costs up to $8,000 or up to 1,040 hours, which is 6 months of training, which is a fairly typical time frame for anybody who's onboarding a new hire. We reimburse 50% of those wages for up to that 6-month period of time. And like I mentioned, it's a on-the-job training. We locally branded it as Project Hire. But on-the-job training is essentially where you bring somebody in, and typically the model will follow, you have them shadow, and then the next step is, maybe they do it with supervision. So how long does it take to make that individual proficient to do the job that you need them to do for your company? So our job is our goal is to help support those in-demand positions where somebody can grow, get a skill set enhancement, and in order to be successful. So It's employer driven on that training. You determine what you need them to do to be proficient, and that's what drives the training. So like I mentioned, you make the decision on who you're going to hire. Once you're ready to make that hiring decision, essentially you reach out to our office and we'll be happy to do an eligibility application. You provide the training. Ultimately, it's whatever makes them most effective for you. And then we do the reimbursement for up to that 6-month window. So essentially the steps to be a part of the program is what we typically will do is start with an information session, and that can, be a meeting with one of our team members. We'll explain all the steps of the program, the ins and outs. This is obviously a high level view, but it only takes 3 documents in order for you to be eligible as an employer. So we start with that step, get you to do those eligibility documentations and make sure you meet the qualifiers. Some of the things that make you not eligible as an employer would be, you've only been in business for a couple months. This program is not designed for a new start employer. It's designed for an employer who's been established and developed, because one of our missions is not just have you be reimbursed for paying somebody. This is about the training that you're going to provide that's going to be a significant skill set enhancement for that individual, and not just to help you offset the training costs. It has to be a win-win-win. So you guys as an employer would receive that reimbursement up to the $8,000, which obviously every employer can benefit from. But the skill set enhancement for the individual, the training that you're providing, that's the difference maker in their careers and their development. So as I mentioned, you guys make the decision, you do the hiring, we can also help with a recruitment efforts here at Montgomery County. We can help with that. And then the length of training is really determined based upon the skill set enhancement to proficiency that I mentioned. All right, so how it works. First, we're going to set you up as an employer. That's the 3 forms that I mentioned. Then once you find that candidate, you can either do that through one of our recruiters, or you can do that through your own normal course of action of hiring somebody. Once you find that new hire, then we would enroll them into the program by doing an eligibility application. Now they do have to be eligible based upon WIOA eligibility. And that falls into 2, basically we're looking at 2 pots of money that they could qualify under. One is under adult, which is an income-based, and one is under dislocated worker. As everybody probably knows right now, there's a big pot of candidates in terms of dislocated worker. That could be anybody who's laid off through no fault of their own, but it could also be somebody who's a military separation. It could be somebody who had their own business that they lost it due to economic conditions. There's certainly some individuals that may fall into that category. So there's a lot of criteria that could make them eligible. And then the income guidelines right now is somebody who is in a household of 4, the year prior to them working for you and being hired by your company, they can still earn $65,000 and still be eligible for the program. So it's a very generous guideline based upon the number of people in that household. So what we don't want is we don't want you guys to self-screen somebody else saying, oh, I bet they're not eligible. Ultimately, we have a very generous guideline for them to be eligible for the program. So again, we set you up as an employer, we do an eligibility application on them, and then we're going to support you with the training if you require that. If you already have a structured training as a company, we're happy to support that in any way we can. If you need help developing position descriptions or training plans, anything that can help you put a little more structure to that training. I know that we reassessed ours a couple years ago, and this is what we do. So ultimately, we want every employer to be able to provide a structured training that's going to really, really benefit the success of you as the company. And then finally, once you begin the training, essentially you're going to invoice on a monthly basis in order for us to reimburse your company for that money. Now, I mentioned early on, it's an employer reimbursement program. There's not a time where we would come back after that money or anything like that. It's based upon your eligibility and the participants' eligibility. That is your money to keep and use however you so choose. Well, that's most of what I wanted to share. Obviously, I'll stick around for any questions in case anybody has any for me.
Thanks,
We do
Carla.
have
I appreciate
one
that.
question in the chat. Go ahead, Jessica.
No, that's fine. I'm glad Lindsay, go ahead, and if you want to ask that.
We just have a question about how long does the employer have to be in business or operation to be able to use this great program?
So we look at least 6 months in order for somebody to be an established employer. It's not designed to eliminate people, but one of our missions is retention and long-term skill set enhancement for the individual. And so we don't want to be in a situation where, they're, not going to get that longevity. We actually have a retention requirement with the program because we want to see that person stick with the company and really, really help offset those training costs.
Thank you. And then we have one more question. How long is the eligibility process for a new hire or trainee?
Oh, that's a good question.
And Annette, I think if you want to expand on that question, feel free.
Okay. So timeframes on everything. We try to be as efficient and quick as we can. Typically, if we meet with, I've turned over an employer review as quickly as 24 to 48 hours. So we can process an employer very, very efficiently. And then we have to take the eligibility application, either their first day of employment or prior. But we don't have to have eligibility finalized that day. So we don't make you wait to bring them on board till after we have the eligibility done. The advantage to that is that, we do the eligibility application their first day of employment. You're going to get a week or so to look at them and see if you want to put them into the program because they're technically not enrolled until that training plan submission. So you'll have some time to eyeball them and see if it's truly going to be a good match. Trust me when I say we've all hired individuals and we thought maybe that wasn't the best hire. You have a little bit of time to assess that before they're technically enrolled and then they are going to be part of your program with us.
Awesome. Thank you, Carla. And if there are additional questions, we'll get to that after our last speaker. And, the thing that I really like from coming from an employer perspective that Project Hire offers, and even with what our next speaker is going to talk about is, they want it to be dictated by the employer. Same with TechCred, right? They don't want a education provider saying, no, this is what employers need to train their employees. No, you as the business owners, the HR, et cetera, you know best what the skills that your employees need to meet, the job for today and tomorrow. So I think that's great. And our last, but definitely not least speaker is Lisa Robertson. She's also with Montgomery County. I'm a little biased in favor of Lisa because she is an awesome advocate for the chamber. And so I love that. And is a great partner to work with and really knowledgeable about the business community and all the other support services like the chamber. So Lisa, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Very kind. Like Carla, Montgomery County has another type of program which is designed to help offset costs that are associated with training. Although Carla's program, Project Hire, is designed to offset the cost of new hire training, the program I'm going to talk about is called Incumbent Worker Training. And as the name implies, Incumbent is to assist in training for your current or existing workforce. We want to support training for businesses and industries in our region that are going to help your employees get increased credentials, productivity for your company, hopefully new credentials that will be recognized worldwide for your company. So incumbent worker training can be used in one of two scenarios. One would be for layoff aversion, and the other is for skills upgrade. So I'll give a couple of examples here to kind of make that point a little clearer. For layoff aversion, some companies, especially in manufacturing, it is becoming more and more relevant that you have quality certifications. For example, ISO 9001 is a common one that a lot of people have seen. And sometimes your downline customers are saying, if you don't get this type of industry recognized quality credential, we may have to pull our business and take it elsewhere. If that's the case, and if you lose that business, you may be having to lay people off. And we don't want that to happen. We want to keep people employed. We want to keep your business as viable as possible. So what we're able to do is to come in and reimburse you a percentage of the cost of that training. Now, the amount that we can reimburse is based on your head count. So similar to what you saw with TechCred, it is divided up into small, medium, and large businesses, but the numbers are just a little bit different. So for example, if you have 50 or fewer employees, we can reimburse you 90% of the cost of the training, which is huge. If you have 51 to 100 employees, we can reimburse 75%. And 101 or greater, we can come in and reimburse 50%. So even at 50% for the cost of some of those trainings, that is a huge amount. I know some of those ISO certifications, they average around $30,000. So any way you look at it, any help is huge. But once you've attained that credential, then it's kind of like the good housekeeping seal of approval. You can put that on your website and it is recognized around the globe that you are following recognized quality procedures and that you're putting out a quality product. So that's an example, again, of layoff aversion. The other way, and probably the one that we're using more frequently now, is for skills upgrade. Skills upgrade, we need one of three outcomes. If you have one person that's going through the training, or if you have 30 or more, it doesn't matter. It is not restricted to the number of people who can participate. But we're looking for an industry recognized credential or an increase in pay because now they're more valuable to you, or a promotion. And again, it doesn't have to be all three, just one of those three. Different types of training can be considered. So for example, again, we can look at things like Lean Six Sigma. We can look at leadership training. We're doing getting a lot of requests for that right now. You know, some of the smaller companies especially are looking at their succession planning, and they've got great people that have been with them for a while, but those people really have never had any type of formal training on how to coach peers and things like that. Or, you know, and we've done things from entry-level leadership training all the way up to C-suite types of positions. So my point to employers is, if there's a question about any type of training that you're interested in doing, please contact me and let's take a look at it, because right now there are a lot of different opportunities out there. So let's take a look at it and see what we can do to make sure that you qualify for that. There are also situations where we've had people who maybe have been working in a production line. They maybe are interested now in working in the front office, but they really need to brush up on Microsoft skills or some of the, you know, the Microsoft suite programs, or maybe they don't have any of that type of training at all. That's again another type of training that we can come in and reimburse, because they're going to receive a credential with that type of training. Again, hopefully it would involve an increase in pay, and there's a good chance that it would be a promotion as well. Sometimes, as I like to kind of joke and say, sometimes we get the trifecta, we get all three. But again, we only need to have one of those credentials. So again, if you're interested, I'm more than happy to meet with you. My role is I'm an employer services coordinator, and that just simply means I'm a liaison between different services and programs that Montgomery County offers to our employers. And I try to connect the dots, both with community and economic development, with workforce services, and as well as our partners throughout the community. Like Jessica said, I try to connect people with the chamber. I've connected people with Lindsay in her program, and Bethany with Catholic Social Services. So, you know, any questions that you have, if there's anything that we can do, please contact me. If I don't have the answer, I can try to find someone who does, and again, connect those dots. So that's what I do. And again, I'll be around if anyone has any questions.
Thank you, Lisa. Really appreciate that. And I love when Lisa shoots me an email and says, I have money to spend. So it's always a good time when I get one of those emails. So thanks. Thank you for illuminating our folks here about your services. There was a question in the chat from somebody asking about the current high demand or in-demand jobs in the state of Ohio. I put a link in terms of what those top jobs are. Just for the Dayton region, I'll speak from the chamber as well as our friends at the Dayton Development Coalition. What we view for the Dayton region, our definition of the chamber's 9 counties, we're looking at manufacturing, logistics, transportation, warehousing, construction and skilled trades, healthcare, biosciences, aerospace and defense, information technology, and then lastly, business services. So that's kind of what you can think about, at least in our 9-county region. I think for this, the first question we have is for all the speakers. So whoever wants to sort of chime in, have you seen an increase in employers applying for your respective programs due to or because of, do you see a connection with COVID and then the number of employers reaching out to you? So whoever wants of our speakers, unmute yourself and feel free to answer.
I think, speaking from my perspective, I work a lot with manufacturing, warehousing and logistics, cybersecurity, and the increase that I have seen is the same across the board. It's not exclusive to any one industry sector, and that is simply the need for workforce, just the need for people. So I think the fact that Carla is able to come in with Project Hire and I'm able to help with Incumbent Worker, that makes our programs a little more interesting, if you will. Hopefully we can help connect to job seekers. And that's one of the reasons why I see some people on here that I have spoken to already about this, trying to promote non-traditional types of job seekers, for example, the immigrant and refugee population, ex-offenders. So trying to get employers to think about other ways to combat the problem of not having people coming in and wanting to work.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit hard to answer because our teams have been really proactive about going out and being available to employers. So I've seen our numbers go up, but I can't tell you if it's because of COVID or if it's because, Lisa and her team have actually done an amazing job of trying to reach out to employers and make sure they know that we're here for them. So.
Thank you very much. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask any questions that you would like to the presenters.
We do have one, Lindsay, from James. This question will be from Carla. How is the length of training determined for each position?
That's actually a really good question. So one is when you submit your training plan, the content of that training plan allows us to justify the duration of training. There is some guidance from the state, from a system that we use that kind of has a cap based upon how complex they deem the position. But most all positions, or I will say a significant number of the positions that are in demand and growing, can go up to 6 months. And I hate to say that across the board because there are some exceptions, but it's actually the content of your training plan. And especially for small companies where you wear 7 hats every day, that can be integrated into the training plan, and it allows you to provide additional training needs. You can identify additional training needs for you to make sure you can cover all the components of what they need to do to be proficient.
We have a question from Jesse Fleming. Hi, Jesse, with Excel Staffing. I think this may be more tailored for our Montgomery County folks, but I don't want to speak for our statewide friends either. He's asking, so they're a staffing agency. Are they eligible or able to utilize any of your programs?
So for Project Hire, if you as an employer hire somebody, you sure can. If you hire somebody in your office, whether it's an admin position or a recruiter or whatever that looks like, if those positions are growing and in demand, then yes, we can cover those. In terms of staffing to a company, no, but we're always happy to work with those companies as they transition from temp to hire in order to support, their training costs.
And for incumbent worker training, it would be exactly the same. If you're hiring within your own company for an internal position, yes, we can definitely take a look at incumbent worker training. Unfortunately, we cannot do that for a contingent type of workforce.
Thank you both.
For TechCred, as the staffing agency could use TechCred to upskill their own employees.
Great, thank you both. Yeah, other questions, and as you're thinking of it, just a reminder, I will send an email out that has a recording, again, of this, of our session here, as well as the links to the programs and contact information. Give me about a day or so to get it out. It takes longer than I always anticipate for our Zoom recording to get in a way that you can view it. So ask for a little bit of your patience, but yes, we will send all of it out because I know it's a lot of information and you have further questions.
This is Annette from Pratt Industries. So I've worked with some of the refugees, and the challenge that we've come across is some of them are not able to speak fluent English. I'm in the manufacturing industry. So things like safety is a big issue. I try very much to, because I'm able to speak Swahili. So I try very much to bring them in, and I try to help translate. But when it's a safety issue for them to understand, and I'm not working at the machine, the supervisors are not really enthusiastic with working with them. So what do you do prior to them, going into the workforce? Because I'm really interested in, I try to get them to come and work, but that's a challenge I always experience.
And
I
I'll let
can
you
maybe
start.
Yeah, I can maybe go ahead and take that one. So what we can do is we can work with typically out of St. John's, which is a part of MVCTC, to create sort of targeted English courses. So we would enroll our refugee clients in these courses that really focus on the vocabulary needed for a certain industry or place. I mean, it could even be an individual employer. We could try to create something together. That's been somewhat successful in the past. We also encourage employers to consider seeing if you do have a worker who is already bilingual or multilingual, who could maybe step into a supervisory role to work with some of our clients, especially those who are newer to the United States. And that's been successful for some folks as well. So there are some options. They do definitely just take a bit of planning and a bit of collaboration and cooperation sort of from everybody that's involved, because it's definitely sort of a team. It just is, a bit of teamwork to get everyone sort of on the same page. But if you're interested in sort of talking about that more, feel free to email me and we can sort of discuss options, or I can put you in contact with some other resources or folks.
Okay.
And speaking on behalf of Miami Valley's EC Aspire program, again, we do offer ESOL classes from very beginner learning the alphabet to more advanced. We love partnering with employers to try to get our students jobs. And yes, if there is a big interest in a particular industry, such as like culinary or sewing, we have worked in partnership with employers to provide that training. We have tried to do manufacturing in the past, and we just did not have the interest, unfortunately. So we do need enough students to be able to pay for the instructor, of course. But if we can get a group of people together and have a sustained class, not just that it's only one time, but maybe it can be repeated 2 or 3 times a year, then that is our dream come true. We love training students for certifications or certificates and just get them some job ready skills for a career, not just a job. So Annette, if you would like to work together, I would love to.
Great question. Thank you for asking that.
Other thoughts, questions? Was it an overwhelming amount of information, or did anybody learn anything new today? I guess I'll ask that. Hopefully somebody learned something new, right?
Hi, this is Camille. Yes, definitely. I did learn something new. Of course, I would like to wait until I get more of the information so that I can look over it and kind of dissect it so that I can actually see where my company fits in and what's going to benefit my company. But I am aware of some of the programs just because I had worked with the county before, and a lot of good benefits that I'm sure I should be able to take advantage of. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for that.
Absolutely.
So let's give our speakers a round of applause or a little late reaction. We would like to thank them very much for spending their time with us today and teaching us so much about all the wonderful programs for upskilling. Again, Jessica's going to be awesome and send out the recording and all of the emails for the presenters and all of the emails for the people on the committee. So that way you can have every resource that you need. Jessica will also be sending out a very, very short evaluation. And all this is just to see if we are on track for you learning what we think you want to learn about. So if you have ideas for topics, we would love to hear them. We only want to have presentations that are of interest to employers. We will probably plan to have another one in the summer, maybe in the fall in person. We'll see how things go. I don't know. If you've been to our roundtables in the past, you know that we always included a wonderful lunch for free. And unfortunately with Zoom, we are unable to do that. So we hope to get back to the days where we can see everyone in person and network and have a wonderful lunch as well. Bethany, Brittany, Jessica, any last words?
No, just thank you everyone so much for coming and for presenting.
Yeah, ditto. And please, if you have suggestions, we've done topics like onboarding and recruiting, a couple years from now, but that is sort of an evergreen topic. So please let us know what would be of interest. We are paying closer attention to what's happening at the federal level in terms of the federal sort of immigration policies. So keeping an eye on that. But again, we want to make sure it's relevant to you as the employer, so you can help us generate those ideas.
The committee members will stick around, and presenters, if you're able to stick around for a few minutes in case there are extra questions, we would appreciate it. But thank you guys so much for all of your interest. We had 29 people today, which is amazing. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time, and we hope everyone stays healthy and has a wonderful summer. Bye, everyone. I say summer because it's April, I guess. Thinking ahead.
It felt like summer last night.
It did.
Amber, I just saw the chat. So we, for the chamber, we cannot give out.
For a contact.
I cannot for the chamber give out email addresses of attendees. I can do it for speakers, but I'm prohibited from a chamber rule for email addresses. I'm sorry.
But if you want somebody in particular, let us know and we can reach out for you to see if that person is okay with
Hey, it's me. I work for Central State University in a community economic development. Hey team, all that. Hi, Miss Lisa. And hi, Carla. And I was just wondering, just for networking purposes, so that I could just reach out to them just in general. So even if it was just the names of the company and the person.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I just can't. I would. It's just we have very strict marketing rules, so that's where my hands are tied.
Trying to promote what we do at Central State University. A lot of people don't know through our land grant extension, so we do a lot of awesome things.
That's great. I know you work very closely with Belinda Matthews Stinson, who is just like 2 offices away from me. Yep. So yeah, I'm happy to email you names and then their companies and their title too.
Okay, thank you. I'll put my email address in here.
All right, for the people who are left, questions.
Okay, so me again. I had told, is it Bethany that I would, So I'm just wondering the interest level among the refugees for the manufacturing jobs. I know, Lindsay, you had said that there isn't much interest. Is that what you had said? Because you're cutting off a little bit on my end. I don't know.
Yeah, it kind of goes in waves with interest and no interest. Bethany might have a better understanding about the current refugees.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can tell you right now, like overall, our clients who are actually looking for employment, those lists are pretty low just due to a number of factors, COVID being one, some federal stuff being another. But when we do have new arrivals come to the United States, they actually don't have much of a say in the jobs that they're placed in, right? Because so much is structured around the idea of economic self-sufficiency, and they only have so much time before they need to be sort of up and running. So I would say with that group, a lot of them are directed or encouraged towards manufacturing. So we don't have a lot of people in that group now, but we are expecting to start receiving new arrivals soon or in the near future. And I think they would be more folks who would probably go towards manufacturing.
Okay. I mean, I'm an immigrant here. I've been in the US for over 20 years. So I understand that process, and the fact that I also speak Swahili. I mean, I know how it feels to be an immigrant when